Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to 7th grade science. I'm Miss Harrington, and this is our last lesson. We're going to focus on our circulatory system of the body systems, and that will be it for the summer. I know y'all are excited to hear that, but I'm excited to get to this last lesson with y'all. Just a reminder, we have some live questions that you can answer throughout this presentation. If you have a device, it can be a computer, cell phone, anything that you can access internet with. www.slido.com is where the questions will be. You have to have the code 5106. The code will always be on the screen here, and also when the question is up on the screen, it'll remind you of that code and that website. So now it might tell you that there's not a poll right now, and that's because there's no question on the screen. So just hold tight, it'll be there in just a second. Now there is something I wanted to go back to from last week with our respiratory system, and that was when we talked about the diaphragm and how it works in bringing in air to our lungs and then releasing. And so I had this model I just forgot to show you. But if once you breathe in, you inhale, you're bringing in air into your body, into your lungs, and what happens is that air heats up, and when your lungs expand, those air particles are going to get hot and become less dense. Now, this is a demonstration here. If I pull on the white balloon, it pulls air into the red balloon, and it actually inflates. So if I pull in, it deflates. Pull out, it inflates. And that's just showing you how when you breathe, you're inflating your lungs. When you breathe in, when you exhale, they're deflating. Okay, so I just wanted to give y'all a quick look at that since I forgot to do it last time. We're going to hit the ground running now with our circulatory system. So we've always started with two statements, thinking about whether we agree or disagree. And our first one this time is going to be there are 4 chambers in a human heart. Think about if you agree or if you disagree. And then also blood travels in both directions in your veins. So we'll come back to these at the end. Okay, so circulatory system. If you've ever looked at a road map of the United States, there's a bunch of roads. There's a bunch of different directions things are going as well. And the network of all of these roads is really important for transporting things throughout the United States for us. Our circulatory system is basically the same thing. Our veins, our arteries, capillaries, all those things that we're going to talk about are very important for getting things to where they need to go in our body, especially oxygen and blood. As far as transportation goes, think about a truck and those big 18-wheelers that you see, or even trains that take food, fuel, other supplies to where they need to go. Your body, your circulatory system does the same thing. Your blood vessels help get oxygen, food, different things to different places in your body, and your circulatory system is what helps do that. One of the main functions not only is getting oxygen to where it needs to go, but also eliminating things that you don't need. So waste from your body, your cells, blood that needs oxygen, that needs to go get more oxygen, different things like that. Also, don't forget, carbon dioxide is one of those gases we don't need in our body, so it also helps get that waste out as well. All right, this brings up our first question. So if you're on slido.com, remember the code is 5106, and you can answer this question. I'll give you a few seconds to see if we have anyone awake. What does the circulatory system not do? So keyword, you're picking the one that it does not do based on what we just went over. And give y'all a few more seconds. Hopefully it's working correctly. Okay, so if you're still trying to log in and didn't quite get there, ooh, there's one, yay. We're going to have a few more questions. So going over this, the circulatory system does not give the body structure and support for movement. Remember, we talked about how your skeletal system and muscular system help with that. But it does eliminate carbon dioxide, and it does transport food, water, and oxygen throughout the body. So good job. All right, here we've already talked about how your organs in your circulatory system is like a highway taking things to where it needs to go in your body. But I do want you to get a good look at the heart. So the picture of this heart is showing you that you have 4 different areas, and we like to call these chambers. So on the right side, you have the right atrium, and below it is the right ventricle. And on the left side, you have the left atrium, and then you have below it the left ventricle. And that's important because we're going to talk about where blood goes, leaves, and comes out, and things like that. So as far as talking about organs, your heart is the main organ that you probably think about for the circulatory system. Can you actually feel your heart beating? If you can feel your pulse, you can feel that. Also, if you've ever exercised or gotten scared, you can probably feel your heart beat. And usually if you do exercise or get scared, you're going to require more oxygen, so your heart is going to beat a little faster. Normal heartbeats, though, for humans is about 70 to 75 beats per minute. Okay, your heart has 4 chambers, just like I talked about just a second ago in your picture. You have 2 at the top, which is going to be your right atrium and left atrium, and you have 2 at the bottom, which is your right ventricle and left ventricle. Okay, blood is going to enter the upper 2 chambers of the heart, called the atrium or atria for singular. And blood leaves the heart through the lower 2 chambers of the ventricle. So it comes in the atrium. Here's the picture again. It comes in the left and the right atrium, and blood leaves the left and the right ventricle. Now, as far as blood vessels go, so it's good to have our heart pumping blood, but how is it going to get throughout our body? There's a lot of different ways. We have 3 main vessels that we're going to talk about. So blood travels through these vessels into specific places in your body, especially, most importantly, your cells. Okay, there's 3 main types of vessels. You have your arteries, which is the vessel that takes the blood away from your heart. So A and away, A and arteries. That can help you think of that. Now, these vessels are very thick, and they have a really high pressure of blood flowing through them because they are closest to your heart where all the pumping action is, which is why they are thicker as far as the walls of them, because they have so much pressure they're having to withstand. Capillaries are going to be the second type. Capillaries are like a 2-way street because they can take blood vessels that deliver supplies to individual cells, and they can also take away waste from those cells. So they can take blood too, and they can take waste away from cells. Okay, now veins are the vessels that bring blood towards the heart. Now the pressure of blood here is not going to be as high because it's not as close to the pumping action. So it's not going to have as thick of a wall because it doesn't have that high pressure to withstand. But it is good to know that there are some parts to the veins that actually keep the blood from not having to move backwards in your veins because it is such a low pressure. You do have valves that keep that from happening, so that's a good thing. So remember, we have our arteries, which are very high pressure of blood pumping, thick cell walls, and this takes blood away from the heart. Then you have the capillaries, which takes blood to cells and waste out of cells, so 2-way street here. They also have a thinner cell wall. And veins, they are going to have a thin cell wall with low pressure because they're not close to that high pressure of heart pumping. And also remember, you have that valve that keeps your blood from going backwards. That wouldn't be good. All right, next question. What does the heart do? Let's see if we have some people that stayed with me here. Does it pump blood throughout the body? Does it move your arm up and down? Or does it provide sensory cells to feel hot or cold? And I do have some people answering. Awesome. The heart is going to pump blood throughout the body. So, great job. All right, which is thicker, the artery cell walls or the vein cell walls? So think about which one is closer to the pump and action of the heart. Okay, so we're 50-50 right now. The correct answer is the artery walls. Remember, they have thick walls and they have high pressure of blood flowing because they are so close to the heart. And the veins are going to have a thinner cell wall because it isn't as much pressure of blood. All right, we have 3 different types of circulation. They have specific things that they do, which is why we have 3 different types. The systematic one is probably the one that you think of the most because this is what's going to take blood from your vessels are going to take blood throughout your body from the heart and then back to the heart after it's gone to where it needs to go in the body. So systematic circulation is just taking care of your full body systems, if you want to think of it that way. Coronary circulation is specifically for the heart. So the heart is that thick organ that's made of a lot of layers of cells, and most heart cells do not come into contact with the blood inside of the heart. So a network of arteries called the coronary circulation will supply blood to all the cells of the heart that needs it. So it's specifically working with the heart cells. Pulmonary circulation is going to be specifically the blood between the heart and the lungs and back to the heart. So these two things are more specific areas, whereas systematic circulation is going to consider your whole body. Okay, what does coronary circulation do? Here's your next question. So think about coronary. Okay. So if you think about coronary, coronary goes with heart. So this is going to provide circulation of blood to the cells of the heart. Now remember, for the lungs, it would be pulmonary, and for the whole body itself would be systematic. Oh, I got, I think, a glitch in the system there. All right, for health, a good health is basically dependent on your circulatory system. So all parts of this must be working properly for you to have good health. Your heart muscle must be strong, and because it needs to push blood throughout the body, and also it needs to receive that blood back. So blood vessels must be flexible as well. So if that's not the case, blood is not going to get to where it needs to get, which means oxygen is not going to get to where it needs to go as well. So circulatory diseases occur when some parts of your system are not working properly. About 1/3 of adults in the United States actually have circulatory diseases. Almost 2,400 people die from them if they're something that they're not maintaining good health for. And we'll talk about some of these. Hypertension is one of them. You probably know this as high blood pressure or heard of it as high blood pressure, and that's what it is, because normal blood pressure would be about 120/80. And what that's saying is it says 120 millimeters of mercury or less during the contraction of your ventricle, and then it's 80 millimeters of mercury or less after the contraction. So they write it as 120/80 at the doctor's office. That's what they're talking about. Before contraction and after contraction pressure there. Okay, so normal blood pressure is 120/80 or in that range. And then blood pressure that's higher than 140/90 is going to be considered hypertension. So that's considered high blood pressure. And what this can do is weaken the artery walls, which remember, artery walls need to be thick because they have high pressure going through them. So it makes them less flexible, which is hard for the blood to get through it. Okay, atherosclerosis is the buildup of fatty material in the artery walls. And this is when fat deposits keep the blood from flowing. So they can actually cause clots or even block vessels, arteries, etc. Here's an example of a disease blocked artery. It's just simply, it's blocked, it's clogged up. But this one is an actual clot. As you can see here, it puts a lot of pressure in that one area, so that blood's not going to get to where it needs to go. All right, so for different diseases, and these are ones you've probably heard of, so this is what this means. A heart attack it happens when the heart muscle either dies or is damaged. So heart attacks will occur when there's not enough oxygen reaching the heart, which makes sense. If blood can't get there, oxygen's not going to get there. So most heart attacks occur when a blood vessel in the heart is blocked or clogged. Okay, and then a stroke is basically the same thing about oxygen. It's except we're talking about the brain here. Oxygen won't get to the brain like it needs to. So if the brain dies or is damaged, a stroke can happen, which is going to keep oxygen from getting there. A stroke might occur if there is a blood clot as well. Heart failure is when the heart's not working as well as it should, so it's going into failure mode, and it can happen because of a heart attack or a problem with the valve, or if you just have heart disease, period. So a lot of these are things that maybe is genetic. So if it is genetic, it's not something that you're going to be able to keep from happening one day. You can manage it, though, with good help from your doctors and good exercise, healthy diet. But also, if you want to prevent things, you don't have heart disease in your family, you can still prevent any damage from your heart and your blood vessels and things like that by having good exercise, good diet, and things like that. Not smoking would be another one as well. Okay, a friend says that she has high blood pressure. What is another name for that condition? So we talked about 3 of these. Which one is simply the high blood pressure one? Good. Hypertension. Good job. What causes the most heart attacks? Good. Blocked blood vessel. Now, lack of oxygen can cause it. However, the lack of oxygen is caused because the blood vessel is blocked. Damage to the heart muscle will usually happen after the heart attack has occurred, or it's just been clogged for a long time. All right, last part of what we've talked about every single time for every body system is homeostasis, and that's simply your body being able to stay in a stable condition, and that's good because that means you don't have to worry about most of the things that you do throughout the day. The circulatory system works with the other body systems. Once oxygen enters your body, the respiratory system interacts with your circulatory system in order to make sure that you're breathing properly, getting the oxygen you need, getting rid of carbon dioxide that you don't need, etc. It also transports nutrients from your digestive system. So the blood vessels that absorb and take nutrients to where they need to go as well. All right, going back to these statements, think about whether you agree or disagree. There are 4 chambers in the human heart. Remember, we talked about the 2 atriums at the top and the 2 ventricles, and 2 + 2 is 4. So if you agreed with that, you're correct. Blood travels in both directions in your veins. Key word there, veins. Remember, veins take blood only back to the heart, okay? But your capillaries is a 2-way system. It will take blood in both directions. Your arteries will only take it away. So technically this is wrong because it should say capillaries. All right, and now put together a few slides for us to talk about the body systems that we've gone over, or to look at how they interact together. So processing nutrients, remember, for homeostasis, this is going to be key here for later on in this presentation. It keeps the internal environment in the body functioning properly. So many organ systems will work together in order to do that. So that's what we're going to talk about real quick. Let's see, chemical digestion, mechanical digestion, all those are part of the digestive system. And in fact, the circulatory system and the muscular system all work together at the same time when this happens. Because if you think about it, your digestion, you have a bunch of smooth muscle that make up your organs in your digestive system in order to push food through your body, or even liquids and nutrients. Okay, and then your circulatory system is going to make sure that your blood vessels are helping get rid of waste, taking in oxygen, taking in nutrients, things like that. So muscles and digestion, I just talked about that with you. For example, one of the biggest ones we talked about was your small intestines absorbing the nutrients that it needs to, and blood vessels taking those nutrients throughout the body. So muscular system would be the smooth muscle of your small intestine, and then your circulatory system would be the blood vessels taking those things to where it needs to go. All right, circulation and digestion, we just talked about that too, as well as nutrients being absorbed and taken to where they need to go. And then processing oxygen and waste. So being able to take in oxygen and get rid of waste is something that, that we do that's very important. And then also oxygen transport, just being able to transport that oxygen. So that's a lot of our muscular system, our circulatory system, our respiratory system. All of that helps with those. Eliminating waste, we've talked about that. Our main one that we've talked about is elimination of feces and different liquids and waste products. That's through digestive system. Our muscular system helps do that to get rid of those. And then also carbon dioxide we eliminate it through breathing out. So our blood vessels help with that as well. And there's sweating as well, with your skin getting rid of waste from your body. So there's a lot of different ways of eliminating waste. All right, down to the bonus part here. If you are watching this, awesome. We want you to keep watching. You have a lot of chances to win meals from Chick-fil-A or even t-shirts from MCPS TV, and they have done an amazing job of helping us get the education to y'all, because we haven't been able to do that face-to-face, so it's good to actually have the TV helping us do that. So if you know the answer to this, email the answer to mcpsstv@mcpss.com. The question is, what is the term for the organism's ability to keep its internal conditions stable? So an organism to keep its internal conditions stable. Email that answer to this email. The quickest one to get there with the correct answer, they will get in touch with you for your prize. And I will go ahead and tell y'all bye as you are doing that. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun doing this, and it's been a pleasure to bring you the content that you need. And just know that your teachers love you, and we miss you, and we can't wait to see you again. And have a wonderful summer.